Prismatic Warlock has access to one of my favorite setups in the game, which is turrets. And I especially love them in Destiny 2 because we now have options to a lot as a Warlock. This build that we're going to be looking at today has taken a few days to put together because I've been testing out other things, but it's super easy to get working, and I'm excited to see all of my favorite turrets in Destiny go to work. So allow me to introduce my Turret Supreme Warlock build. The two key elements that make this build work are firstly our exotic armor, Getaway Artist, which as you all know takes our arc grenade and turns them into arc souls. These things shred in this build, and you don't have to worry about the work they do because they are on auto. The second key element is No Time to Explain, which after hitting shots and building up stacks of time again, a small turret will spawn, adding extra damage as our second turret buddy. Add to that, when hitting slowed or frozen targets, it will give you more bullets back in the magazine. This combo is supported, of course, by Prismatic Warlock and our great aspects that we can use. The first of those being Bleak Watcher. Consuming our grenade gives us a stasis turret that will shoot enemies around you and slow plus freeze them. Plus, we now have our Arc Soul dealing damage to them as well, and you can see how this chains together with all of the enemies just kind of dying after they've been frozen. Our second and final turret we can get hold of is our Solar Turret, which is from Helion. Helion's turret will fire out small projectiles that scorch targets around you, which means we have the full effect of Scorch, Slow, Freeze, and extra damaging turrets from our Arc Soul. In order to activate Helion, you do need to use your class ability. This build is so fun to just walk around as like a little one-man army, and it's made a lot better with our abilities. You are first going to want to have Storm Grenade. It's kind of mandatory to have on this build, but the melee abilities is where you have a few options. For more Scorch and Ignitions, you could go with the Snap Melee. For freeze and shutting down problem enemies from a little bit more range, you could go with Penumbral Blast. Or if you want more tangles and unraveling and more melees in total, you can go with Arcane Needle. Each melee calls for different situations, but the build really comes together when we dive into our fragments. Facet of Purpose will give us constant restoration as we are combining this build with our new super Song of Flame, which is extremely fun to add into this build. And Facet of Benevolence basically gives you a drop of any buff that we are using for the super that we have. So in this case, we'll be getting ourselves restoration whenever we pick up an Orb of Power. Facet of Balance gives us extra melee energy whenever we do rapid light damage, and extra grenade energy when we do rapid darkness damage. This is going to be good because it works both with what we are using. We're doing light damage with our Arc Souls, and we're doing dark damage with our Bleak Watcher turret. Facet of Hope allows us to get our class ability back quicker when we have an elemental buff active, and in this build, if we are picking up the right orbs, should be pretty much all the time, which I think is going to be good to be able to get an extra bit of cure if you get into a bad situation, and also to keep proccing Helion. Facet of Ruin is going to increase our Stasis Crystal Shatters, which is going to be super effective when we freeze so many targets. And if you use the Snap Grenade and also Helion, you get an additional effect of the Ignitions going better as well. So kind of a double boost, if you will. Facet of Awakening gives us an elemental pickup based on the super that we are using, which in this case is Solar, meaning that we're going to get ourselves a Fire Sprite, which is going to be helpful for getting our grenade back and feeding into one of our mods. The last fragment is Facet of Dawn, which allows for our powered melee hits to make us radiant, and also our allies whenever we get those kills. The problem this build has when you don't run this is that you run out of an elemental buff because you're from distance, and you are, especially in higher activities, you're not able to pick up Orbs of Power as quickly, but having that extra radiant on command will be really helpful. So let's jump into the mods. On our helmet, we have 3 kinetic siphon. You could maybe swap this out for an ammo finder if you really wanted to, but the reason I'm running these 3 is purely because we are using No Time to Explain to be able to get those orb generated. We are also using momentum transfer, which is causing damage with a grenade, reduces your melee cooldown, and then likewise, when you're using bolstering detonation, your class ability energy you gain whenever you're doing grenade damage, which we're going to be doing a lot of. We're also using grenade kickstart. Whenever we have armor charges and we consume our grenade, this is going to give us a portion of it back, which is very, very good and what we need for the build. We have resistances, and then we have one charged up just to give us one extra stack of armor charge. Recuperation, which replenishes our health each time we pick up an orb of power. This is quite good for just survivability. I have elemental charge, which is when we are collecting a fire sprite, ionic trace, stasis shard, void breach, or a strand tangle. It gives us an escalating chance to give us an armor charge. This is going to be good for getting those additional armor charges when we don't have any orbs near us. Also, fun fact, you can get this on the artifact and get it down to 1 rather than 3. And we're pairing that with stacks on stacks, so any orbs we do get gives us an additional 1. So we'll have 4 in total. So this means we're going to get 2 every single time we pick up an orb of power. Running distribution, which reduces all ability cooldowns when using your class ability near targets, which we'll be doing a lot. We also have Reaper, which is shortly after using our class ability, your next weapon final blow will generate an orb of power, which we need to kind of get the build going a little bit more. And we also have Utility Kickstart, which is when you use your class ability, you'll get a portion of it back when we have armor charges. So you'll be balancing between your class ability and Grenade Kickstart. So let's look at the artifact. There's a couple of different changes here, but a lot of them you've probably already seen on some other builds. The key thing is that you want to get yourself Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster. But while you're Amplified and Radiant, your Grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage, which is going to be good. We also have Transference, which means our Grenade and melee are going to do more damage while Transcendent. It's not as important in the build. You could maybe swap this out and go with like a Prismatic Transfer or Argent Blade, entirely up to you. We do have the 3 that you have to have, which is Void Hegemony, Radiant Orbs, and Galvanic Armor. I do also highly recommend Elemental Siphon, which is rapid final blows with a kinetic weapon or a weapon matching your equipped super, creates an elemental pickup that matches your equipped super. So in this case, it would be solar weapons that we would be using. I do recommend Creeping Chill, but we aren't really using a stasis weapon here, so you don't get the full effect of this as often. Likewise, Threaded Blast, you don't really get the same benefit if you're not running a stasis strand weapon, I should say, here. You do want to make sure you have an authorized elemental charge mod, and also anti-barrier pulse and whatever extra one you want. Unstoppable sidearm is quite good as well, but yeah, anti-barrier pulse is going to be good for our no time to explain. So here we have a live gameplay demonstration of how the build will work. I'm only in just a regular Lost Sector in the Cosmodrome. I do have footage in the video that is showing me doing the Lost Sector, which was like a day or so on the Pale Heart, which was roughly 18 to 19 power under. But this is how you start the build. You're going to consume your grenade, which is going to throw out a stasis turret. That's going to shoot everything and freeze it. Absolutely destroys it. You can see my Arc Souls doing work right there. I also have Snap Melee on here, so I can come in, snap, get a little bit more explosion. I've got my grenade back again. I can then consume it again, and I've got my Arc Soul up for another 20 seconds. And I haven't even started shooting with no time to explain, so I can do that right now. Get that stacked up, so we now have that buddy on, and then I can pop my class ability, and we have all 3 turrets on the go. So I can just let them run around. I don't even have to do anything. I can go pick up another fire sprite, pick up another orb. You can see how the build really starts to come together. When you lose one, you'll be able to consume another one. I'm probably going to die here because of this. Nope. And you can see we've got it all over again. So it's just like about keeping the uptime of your Arc Souls. You can see I've got another 20 seconds of those. Got my grenade back. Well, I got my class ability back, and I got Time's Chasm as well. I can just let it sit here, pick up the extra stuff. Got my grenade back again, as you can see. I can just sit here and let these guys shoot them. I don't even have to shoot anything, literally. They just get killed either way, and then you have to build the build back up again. So you can see I need to pop my little turret out again. Get the extra stacks. And then we go into the final room. And then if you really want to, you can pop your super and absolutely destroy everything that's in here with Song of Flame, just for a little bit of extra fun. And then when you have your super as well, you can get back a Helion even quicker as well. So there you go. That's a live demonstration of how it would actually work. Yeah, it's not the best in terms of endgame total overall, but yeah, like it's a lot of fun. You just been able to run around, let everything do, let everything shoot things for you. So let's round out the end of the video. This build is such a relaxed playstyle that with my current spin on things can give you the feeling of just a walking turret. There are variations to this that I might explore in the future, but I will say that the build sadly struggles in endgame content purely because if you mess up the ability loop or don't have a nade available, you can be caught out. Couple that with not really any reliable healing on the build. There's something that you could potentially do with one of the sidearms in the game that can give you Devour, but I'll have to do some testing and then come back with a different build. It may be a little bit better with those tweaks, but for now, I'll enjoy using this in strikes, in arenas, and I think in Onslaught it'll do pretty well as well. So if you want to go and have some fun, check out the dim link down below and check out the build for yourself. And if this has been an informative and helpful video, please leave a like on it, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment on your favorite build in the final shape so far. And as always, this has been Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.